Here to review the Pivot Shuttle, one of the most exciting bikes around in the e-bike category. $10,000 Shimano motor, full carbon, 140 travel, rear 150 front, modern geometry, DW link suspension, specifically made for the e-bike. So I'll cut right to the chase and say it's the best riding e-bike ever. Of course, that's no tall order. 3 years ago they were not that good. They're all flexy and suspension couldn't handle the bike. But now here is a bike completely built for the e-bike, the motor and the weight, and it's fully damped and it's stiff enough to handle it. So what makes it good? So descending, when you're descending a big downhill, it feels totally controlled. You know, the compression and the damping, rebound damping, has it completely under control. You don't pogo around. You go on a jump, you case a jump, you're fine. The Fox 36 up front and the DPX2 on the rear are so smooth but fully supported. So, and the DW suspension completely, it's got your back. The stiffness of the bike is another marvel. So it's a full carbon frame, and the front triangle is really stiff, and the rear is even stiffer. 157 boost really paid dividends on this bike because it's able to triangulate that rear, and it's a 437 stay even with 3.0 compatibility and a 29er compatibility. It's able to handle it. So you're snaking down single track. It feels fine. A lot of e-bikes, they feel good on big descents, but not on single track, up and down single track, because it feels like it's not maneuverable enough. This is completely maneuverable. In fact, last ride I said, man, this bike likes to pivot or turn. It really loves to turn, but it really loves to carve. So that's what's really unique about the bike. It is such a good handling bike. It's unbelievable. And another thing is, I think, I'm not a big fan of Plus because I'm here in the Bay Area where our trails are not that loose or rough, but Plus really paid dividends on this bike because it's able to, the weight of the bike is able to really take advantage of the extra volume. It's able to articulate those tires, able to dig those tires in. So I never really slipped, but really I felt I had an advantage over even 29er versions of all mountain bikes. They call it a trail bike, all mountain bike, 140, 150. So there you go. Another couple highlights is it's $10,000. Just one price point, all carbon, Di2, the works, 10 grand. Aluminum wheels, 10 grand. Hopefully they'll come up with better price points in the future. And then the other thing is it's light. It's about 46 pounds without pedals. They claim 44, but I'm not sure about their scale because as it is Recon and Minion front 2.8, 46.3 on my scale without pedals. So it's about 47 once you have pedals. So that's it in a nutshell. Quite a few downsides, upsides that I'll go into in chapter 2, part 2 of this review. And I got my note sheet here. I'll tell you exactly what I like and what I don't like about this bike. It's the best, but it's pricey. It's got a lot of travel, maybe not enough travel. So if you want to hear the nitty-gritty, hang on, I'm going to go through it. So as I said, the best part about this bike is the ride, stiffness, suspension, all that. Best in class. I've had the privilege to ride e-bikes for the last 8 years, and right now I have like 3 or 4 in the stable. This is the best one. So that's the key. Shimano. It's got Shimano, and that's a good thing. Has a super handy indicator here, but the motor is the smallest around, the lightest and the smallest. This it allows for a better design. It's a small Q factor, so it feels natural. You're not like bow-legged. and it's got the most torque, 70 Newton meters of torque. 250 watts average, but it puts out close to 500 watts, at peak power. Very, very usable motor, easy to climb the steepest hills, and you don't have to be spinning at a huge RPM, 120 RPM, just to get the most out of the motor. Very low RPM, 2 to 3 miles an hour, not 2 to 3 miles, maybe 3 to 5 miles an hour, you can get the most torque out of this. 70 Newton meters is really about 50 foot-pounds of torque, if you can translate it to some to what cars use. And 50 foot-pounds of torque is stronger than what some motorcycles and old cars have. So it's very good. Stays high on its travel, so when you're climbing, the thing is not diving on you. A lot of bikes, when you're applying power and the motor applies power, it compresses the shock, so you keep hitting the pedals. This one, it doesn't really. So you don't need to use those ultra short cranks that some e-bikes use. E-bike, you kind of have to keep on the power, because by law they have to shut down as soon as within like 0.2 milliseconds of when you stop pedaling. So important that it stays on power, stays high on its travel, so you don't hit the pedals. So the weight, about 46 pounds, very light. Compare that to most e-bikes are 51, 52 pounds, and the weight really matters. If you're just descending or just commuting, that's not a big deal. But when you're navigating, when you're weaving through single track, left, right, up, down, boom, boom, pump, jump here, it matters to the playfulness of the bike. And the less weight on the wheels, the less weight here, the better, because that's what you keep throwing around. Another high point is no drag on the motor, meaning the motor will shut off at 20 miles an hour by law. So when you're at 21, 22, a lot of motors, you can't really pedal it really, because the motor is dragging down the system. Meaning it's very hard for you to overcome that. So this one, of course, it's hard to pedal 23 miles an hour on flats on a mountain bike with big tires. But let's say you're descending, you could pedal this at 30, 31, and really feel like your output is getting to the bike. Craftsmanship, first rate. Like all the new pivots that I've seen recently. Mach 5.5, the Firebird, the 429, right on par with it. First rate, everything about it. Especially how they integrated the battery in the frame. So the battery is an internal battery, an external battery that they put internally. And they have a window here and a window here with automotive grade rubber sealants to keep the moisture out. It's a very hard engineering project, but they pulled it off. Why did they do that? Because unfortunately Shimano, the motor, the battery, the internal battery is 25% bigger than the external one. So they felt they had to use the external one inside. Really strange, but that's unfortunate with the Shimano internal battery. Good bonus there. 437 millimeter stays, very short, and you can put a 29er tire on it as well. Okay, we'll go to the downsides now. So the only price point is 10 grand. That's crazy unfortunate. A lot of people want to buy this, but maybe 5 grand, maybe in the middle, 10 grand. Your target market goes like this. Alloy rims, at 10 grand, I really don't want alloy rims. These wheels were specially designed with DT, just for pivot, and they seem to be very good, but I can't imagine they're as light as the latest Reynolds carbon wheels, which are incredibly strong. Shimano, I put it on the upsides. It's a great torquey motor with a nice display. Lots of great things about it, but it's not perfect. It's a Generation 1 product. And it's got a lot of little quirks here and there. What I just mentioned, the internal battery is massive. So any bike that uses it, it's so obvious. It kind of looks like a moto. But my biggest complaint with it is the shifter. Shimano wants you to change modes all the time: eco, trail, and boost. So they made it convenient for you by giving you a Di2 style shifter on the left hand. The unfortunate thing about that is the dropper lever occupies that space. It normally occupies that space. I want to drop my saddle like 20-40 times during a ride. Now that space is taken up by the Shimano mode shifter. So that's unfortunate. Now I have to go over the bar to do that. The other thing is they seem to want you to shift all the time. They won't give you all the power unless you're getting a certain RPM. Bosch has the EMTB mode, which has just one mode. You rarely have to shift modes, and you just pedal and shift gears. Shimano, another couple things they do is a clutch system. It goes off, on, and off. On once you start applying a certain amount of watts, and then off once you get close to 20. So you can feel that. It's not huge, but it's definitely noticeable. So that is a little downside. And the big thing for me is, in the US, these bikes are limited to 20 miles an hour. But when and I only really hit that when I'm traversing to the trail. I go 5-10 miles to the trailhead, and I'm on the road. And that's when I want that motor, and I want to get going on flat ground pretty quickly. I find myself going at 18 miles an hour, starts shutting off on me. I'm on boost mode, starts shutting off at 18, 19, 20, motor keeps cutting off. So I find myself riding at 17 miles an hour. That sucks. I thought it's going to be 20. No, I'm really riding at 17. To get the most benefit from the motor. And the reason is they don't want to cut you off quickly at 20. It's going to be pretty abrupt. So they start weaning you out of it at 17, at 18. But there's better ways to do that. They should know that I'm not going to go over 20, really. I just want to be able to ride at 20. So, a little bit of compromise right now. Another downside is Shimano motor is noisy. I've come to grips with it. It's louder than the Specialized, the Brose motors. Maybe it's a hair louder than the the Bosch motors on the Treks. And it's more noticeable when you're changing cadence. Like when you're you shift gears and you go on a lower gear, or you shift to a higher gear. When you're doing that and you're really torquing those gears and that chain inside, you hear it. And some bodies make the sound louder too. Like if you have a monocoque body like this makes it sound like a sound box. So it adds to the sound of the motor. The another downside is no water bottle. No big deal, but hey, a lot of e-bikes now have water bottle. Too much shifting and modes. Di2 has a great benefit of, so you can do multi-shifts by one press. And that's cool on an e-bike because you can actually spin the cranks to do multi-shifts. But I feel like with 70 Newton meters of torque, I shouldn't be shifting all the time. I don't even shift when I'm on single speed. With that much torque, it should give me my torque when I want it. It should sense my power. But it wants you to shift all the time. It wants you to shift gears. It wants you to shift modes. Very, very similar to how you ride a pedal bike. So I think that's what they're trying to capture. It's actually really light. Very similar to just a pedal bike. You're just having a great day, or the best pedaling day ever. But it's not taking advantage of some of the capabilities of an e-bike, which is I shouldn't be shifting modes, I shouldn't be shifting gears that much. That should be cut in half. Couple other downsides. These are not big deals, but I'll mention them. One is it only has 140 millimeters of rear travel. I wish it was 150, maybe a little more, because there's no downside. There's very little downside when a bike is built this well, and it's got a motor. What's a few extra ounces of weight? And so 140 is on the lower end of where I like the e-bikes to be. 150 would have been nice, 160 even better. It's an efficient pedaler, it's got a low CG, it'd be nice to have a little more travel. That way you can go 160 front. And finally, just a small nip, they claim 44 pounds, 19.9 kilos, it's just not, everyone's been weighing it, it's just not. It's 46.3 pounds on my scale with no pedals, and that's with Minion tires and a Recon on the rear. It should have a Minion on the rear too. If you could they probably weighted with Recon front and rear, but I don't think it's gonna hit 44. And really, there's no business having a Recon on this bike. It's just that good a handler. You gotta give it a good, the best front tire available for it. So there you go, the long and the short and the long of the Pivot Shuttle. Thank you.